Very few people know this, that sugar actually started in India. Perhaps that's why we still take it in such copious amounts. In fact, the name of sugar in most languages comes from its Sanskrit name, Sharkara, which evolved into shakkar and then became sugar. But then, why do Indians call it chini? I'm going to answer that in this short video. From ancient India, sugar production had spread to China, Persia, and the Arab world. Centuries later, when crusaders from Europe entered the Holy Land, they encountered caravans carrying a mysterious sweet salt. This was brought back to Europe, where it quickly became an obsession with the nobility. Until then, the people in the West had relied on fruits and honey for sweetness. They'd never encountered anything as strongly sweet as sugar, and when they did, there was no looking back. Being highly scarce, sugar was considered a precious spice. It is hard to imagine today that sugar was valued at more than 20 times natural honey. Needless to say, it was way beyond the reach of ordinary people and hence became a symbol of luxury. The aristocrats and royals showed off their wealth by adding generous quantities of sugar, not just to desserts, but to meat, fish, wine, and even water. The ones who could afford it went even further and decorated their dinner tables with sugar sculptures known as subtleties. These elaborate centerpieces were meant to be admired by the diners while the dinner was served. As the sugar mania heightened, hundreds of entrepreneurs were lured into the sugar business. Large-scale plantations began to emerge in the newfound lands of Central and South America. Initially, the native people of these lands were forced to do the laborious and dangerous work of sugar production. But when they could not survive the hardships and diseases brought by Europeans and began to die in large numbers, the colonizers replaced them with enslaved people from Africa. Fueled by slave labor, the sugar production went on growing, and as supplies became abundant, the prices of sugar in Europe steadily declined. By 18th century, sugar had become affordable for everyone. Jams and marmalades were all the rage in France. Candy shops popped up across Italy. And in England, sugar became indispensable in tea. To satiate Europe's ever-growing appetite for sugar, millions of Africans were forced into slavery. The French philosopher Voltaire, in his satire, Candide, has a slave describe the life in the sugar plantation of Suriname.
Yes, sir. It is the custom. They give us a pair of linen drawers for our war garment twice a year. When we work at the sugar canes and the mule snatches hold of a finger, they cut off the hand. And when we attempt to run away, they cut off the leg. Both cases have happened to me. This is the price at which you eat sugar in Europe.
Stories of unbearable brutality faced by African slaves in the sugar plantations eventually began to prick the conscience of the general public back in Europe. Social activists urged people to boycott the sugar coming from the Caribbean plantations. This led to a rise in the demand for East India sugar, which was marketed by the British traders as the slave-free alternative and commanded a premium price. Soon India's entire sugar production was exported to Europe. To meet the domestic demand, a lower grade sugar was imported into India from China. This sugar looked white due to a bleaching process used in China. You guessed it. Indians started calling this white sugar from China as chini, and that became the colloquial name for sugar in India. The story of sugar doesn't end there. While slave trade was abolished in 1833, the British crafted a new system of forced labor. This time, instead of enslaved Africans, around 2 million Indians were transported as indentured servants. This is the reason we still find a huge Indian diaspora in far-flung countries like Jamaica, Suriname, Mauritius, Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, and Fiji. The story of sugar is a long one and is not always sweet, but from prehistoric times still present, India's fondness for the sweet salt continues unabated.